You may or may not be aware that I am really terrible at continuing series. I will absolutely love book one and then just never read the rest of the books in the series. And I don't know why. It's a really bad habit of mine. So today you are going to help break me of this bad habit by helping me decide which series I will continue. This is part of my Viewer's Choice series that I want to have here on this channel, where you guys pick a book for me to read and then I will read and review that book here on the channel. You can vote for the books in two ways. First, by commenting the book that you want me to read, and also by voting in the poll on my community tab. So if there's one that you really want to hear my opinions on, you can vote twice by commenting below and voting on the poll in the community tab. And with that, let's get into the series. The first series on my list is the Poppy War series. So I read the first book, The Poppy War, last year, right at the beginning of the year. So it's been just over a year since I read it. And I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed with it. I couldn't stop talking about it. And then I did not continue to the rest of the books. So if you vote that I continue this series, I will be continuing on with the Dragon Republic. The Poppy War is a historical Chinese story heavily inspired by the Sino-Japanese War. It is about this girl who, the first half of the book, she's going to this military academy, and it's really her coming from this impoverished village and how she got there and working her way through the ranks. And then the second half of the book is war, and there's like an abrupt shift, and the second half is just like, and this is what you were training for the entire time. I loved this book and I would love to continue with this series. The next series you can vote for me to continue is the Murderbot books. This is another series that I read last year for the first time. I read all the novellas and then I didn't read the novels. And I've had the novels, Network Effect is the next one I need to read, on my TBR like several times. I'm like, I'm going to get to Network Effect this month, and then I just have never gotten to Network Effect this month. The Murderbot books are about this antisocial robot. He is a security droid and he hacked into his governor module, so he doesn't have to listen to the humans anymore. But he is a big softie and he actually ends up helping the humans get out of scrapes more often than not. And he kind of grumbles about it the entire time. And I love it. This is a really fun series and I would really like to continue with this series. Next on my list is, I don't know what this series is called. So I read Moon of the Crusted Snow last year. It actually ended up being on my top books that I read in 2023. It was a book that, like, whenever I first read it, it didn't like grab me right away. But the more I thought about it, like the more that story has grown on me. And I just like, I do really like that book. And its sequel came out this year, Moon of the Turning Leaves. So Moon of the Crusted Snow is a post-apocalyptic thriller, but it's really a very slow slice of life character story. We follow these characters in the Anishinaabe community as they are dealing with the end of the world, as they're dealing with the apocalypse and not having any power, or there are things that they are used to in their life. Especially since book one was on my top books that I read in 2023, I am really excited to get to the sequel for Moon of the Crusted Snow, or Moon of the Turning Leaves as the sequel. The next series on my list is the Temeraire series. So if you've been around my channel, you might know that the Temeraire series is one of my favorite series. And I have read book one, like, I don't know how many times by now, more than 5 times. It is one of my favorite books of all time, but I've never reread the entire series. I usually stall out between like books 3 and 6. And this time I really want to read the entire Temeraire series again. So I reread book 1 recently. I made a review video for that, which I have on the channel. This is a historical fantasy. It is set during the Napoleonic War, and we are following this naval captain who accidentally becomes a dragon rider and then has to change careers and go into the Dragon Air Force to fight in the war. And the book really focuses on the character relationships and dynamics between Lawrence and his dragon Temeraire, and that is really the heart of the story and why I love the Temeraire series so much. And I would really love to reread this entire series again. So with my reread, I would be starting with Throne of Jade, which is the second book, and then continuing from there. And the last series on this list, which I have a feeling is going to be the winning series, although I could be wrong. It's just vastly the most popular series on this list, and that is the A Song of Ice and Fire series. So I watched the show a couple years ago now, and I hadn't watched it whenever it was coming out because I didn't think I would like it, and I watched it a couple years ago and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I started reading the books. So I read the first one, A Game of Thrones, which I probably have a really rambly, poorly put together thoughts on that book somewhere on this channel. And I would like to continue the series and read A Clash of Kings, and then continue on with the rest of the books in the series. Do I have to explain what A Game of Thrones is? I'm pretty sure everyone knows, right? There's literally a war over who should sit on the Iron Throne. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. It's more complicated than that, but it's also that. So, whichever of these that you would like to see me read and review the most, leave a comment below and go vote in my community tab, and I hope to see you in another video. I will be posting my review video in the coming weeks. I'll see you in another video. Happy reading.